Has anybody seen Kevin?
No. I was looking through his room earlier for some for him.
What?
And I heard a loud pop, like one of the pod bay doors open.
Okay.
And I thought, maybe he would know about that.
I thought I heard that too. Hey, look! It looks like he left a tape over here on this table. And there's a note that says, "Play me."
Guys, there's something heading for the station. It looks like a squid surfing.
Squid?
Oh shoot! Quick, hacks! Open the external bay doors.
Branson, move the guiding sliders or out of the way for the entrance of the bay door.
Okay, I'm going.
Are you ready to discover a world of terrible movies? High above the planet Geekery, 3 brave individuals, with the help of other friends, work through a list of terrible movies to discover one simple truth. Are they better than people think? Or do they really belong on the bottom shelf? Grab your popcorn, grab your favorite snack, and get ready to find out. Hello and welcome to The Bottom Shelf, the show where we watch critically terrible films so you don't have to. The Bottom Shelf is an extension of Geek Devotions, the show from devoted geeks who are devoted to letting you know that you are loved. So if you don't listen past this moment, know this: we love you, we care about you. There is a plan and purpose for your life. Don't give up. That being said, I'm Dallas, and I'm so excited to have you guys here with us. Today with me, we have our crew. We have Mr. John Harju. How you doing, sir?
Wait, you've known me this long and you said my last name like that? Really?
Yes. Be nicer to Glicks.
Okay, Dallas Morey.
Oh my goodness. And hey guys, we're bringing on a brand new person to the crew. He's going to be on with us full time. And that is going to be Mr. I stab people in the neck with sharp pointy objects, Branson Boykin.
Wait, what?
You're going to work that in somehow, aren't you? It was an accident. And you're still alive. Sure. Everything is fine.
To quote our special guest, pardon?
That's a story for another podcast. Yes. So, Branson, welcome aboard. Glad to have you here with us.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. This was a lot of fun when we reviewed Venom, so I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah. Hope you have fun today, sir, because we have some special stuff taking place. Speaking of special, we have a very special guest that we just barely caught flying through this atmosphere. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet Miss Squid.
It's nice to be on solid ground again. It's been rough out there.
Gosh. How long were you out there?
It's hard to keep count in space. So I would say no less than maybe a lot of days. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's been a while. It's nice to see faces. Sorry if I'm touching your face. It's just so good to see you.
Oh, this is awkward. How did you get out there?
I was just trying to repair a thing on our ship, and, the airlock popped open, and off I went, and there I am.
Oh, God, I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, I sure did. And now here I am. Hi. Thanks. Good to be
aboard. Here. So I think you're going to be here for a couple weeks.
Probably. I'm not eager to get back out there.
Oh, okay. Understandable.
And if I do, just to...
Did you bring your dice?
No. In the hustle and bustle, the rush to get out the door, as it were, didn't have time to grab them. It's kind of sucked me out real fast. So here I am.
That certainly does suck.
Ironically,
it was hairy. And yet not at all at the same time.
That is terrible. Well, guys, we are going to be reviewing a film. I think we got this tape from Kevin.
Sounds like I'm here just in time.
It says play me. Yeah. John, you got that tape?
Yeah.
Okay, if you are playing this cassette, which you are right now, I trust you found the DVD I have inside this box as well. I am now currently decided to try that beam button that John loves to keep pressing and shooting out the taco machine. So I am right now on a short adventure to retrieve the taco machines and to see if I can get them to be working again.
Tacos.
Anyhow, the movie you see
About
underneath
time.
this cassette is Velocipastor. It was released in 2018 or in August 2019. There was different sources saying it was released earlier or released later. I cannot get the exact date, but it's around that time frame because it won some
That's
stupid
suspicious.
award in 2019 at the South African Horror Fest. It is directed by Brendan Steer. It stars Greg Cohen, George. You know what? I don't even care. I'm just going to be honest. You do not want to watch this movie. I'm just leaving it for you guys because last time I burned a couple of movies I don't think you know about, and I'm just going to leave it like that. So,
What?
yeah, you guys are mature. You can figure this out. I'm just being honest. You could just burn it, trash it, throw it away, use it as a frisbee disc. I don't care. Well, if
think it's
you
more
want to
mature.
know why it's rated the way it is, you're just going to have to flip the cassette. Yeah, I know. I could have just recorded the same side, but I figured you could just burn the extra 5 calories and rewind and or fast forward and flip the disc, the cassette tape, whatever. I don't even care anymore.
Burn the extra calories.
Did he mention tacos? Because I'm hungry.
Yeah, well, we had a taco. We've had.
All I heard him say was hurdy dirty birdie gurdy, potato, whiskey, holy father, Catholic Church.
Squid, unfortunately, my presence here is why the taco machine is out in space. So
Oh
I'm kind of
One of them.
I'm kind of glad he's trying to fix
no, that's
that,
fine. I mean,
'cause I
it's
feel
been
bad.
it's been a while, but I'm good. I can make it.
If you look outside, there's an orbit. In fact, you almost hit one of them when
Oh,
you on your
is
entry.
that what that was? Oh,
Yeah, yeah. The red stuff was salsa.
I should have stopped there first.
Mm. Frozen tacos.
I'm just gonna go on record is if he grabs the one that has the Kroll video game implanted into it, it's going back out in space.
Okay, Branson, you have this movie in your hand.
Yeah, here it is.
Okay, is there a warning label on it? Because normally these things have
There
them.
is. Let me see. Warning. You will want to just rip this movie apart so badly. However, you may find yourself really enjoying its campy B movie style.
Campy,
Hmm.
like Ernest P. World campy.
I'm wondering if it's like Adam West Batman campy.
I don't
Uh,
know. Let me look at this. Warning: passing kidney stones is more entertaining than this poor excuse of a film. Okay, sure.
Okay.
On the other side of it there, I see warning Dr. Lawyer Hooker, and
What?
nothing more need be said.
I feel like a lot needs to be said
Wow. Yeah, that needs some explanation.
What does that even mean?
here. What is happening? What are we getting ourselves into?
I don't know.
What's a Dr. Lawyer Hooker?
I don't know.
Is that like a puppy monkey baby?
Warning: Godzilla help you if you watch this. What? What is happening with this film?
I don't know. What's this? It says traumatic parental earth scene. I don't even know what that means.
What are we walking
I have
into?
no idea.
Have any of you guys seen this before?
Nope.
Oh,
What, have you
what
seen
was
this?
it? Sorry, I was thinking about tacos.
Oh yeah, I wish I was. It says it's called. What was it called again, Branson? Velocipastor.
Velocipastor.
Oh,
Dr. Hooker
Velocipastor.
Lawyer.
I think I read some stuff about that once.
Okay, what are we walking into?
I would have guessed a movie about dinosaurs, but nobody said anything about dinosaurs.
Denver?
Walking into Denver.
Denver,
Oh,
the last
no,
dinosaur.
I've never been there.
He's my friend. A whole
Oh.
lot more.
Precious.
John, do you have any
there was-
random facts about this film?
No, but Squid did just say she read something about this, so
I
she
do.
may?
I do have a couple. Yeah,
Enlighten us, madam.
after they filmed this, they took the film, and this is a old Hollywood trick. They put the film in their oven for about a few minutes at 200 degrees to bake it. Made it look old and aged. That's how they achieved that look.
Yeah, the people on the stills I've seen of this movie certainly do.
Well,
look
they
baked.
were at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. This also was originally just a trailer for a Grindhouse, production in 2010 that they later made into a full-length film, apparently.
Wait, this was just a teaser
Yep.
trailer for something that
And
wasn't
it is
real?
available on YouTube.
What the crap?
If you guys get YouTube in space. I don't know. It's all that I have when I was floating out in space was YouTube. So I watched a lot of true crime. Yeah, and if you watch this film, there's quite a few scratches and, things that, part of the aged process that didn't come from the oven. It was really just Brendan Steer, the director, dragged the unprocessed film through different surfaces in his bathroom.
That sounds
As a film
unsanitary.
person,
Yeah.
that hurts me.
That's how they got that natural look.
Is this
No,
thing sanitary?
probably not.
Nope.
I don't think anything about this film's sanitary. Also, I don't know if any of you guys know who Black Sabbath is. Also, the only thing I listened to out in space was True Crime and Black Sabbath. It's all YouTube would pick up. In a flashback scene, there are lyrics from one of their songs, "Heaven and Hell." I don't know if it means anything, but it's in there.
I think John's excited.
Did you have to keep an eye out for that scene then?
Dude, Heaven and Hell is like my favorite Dio era song from Black Sabbath. Like real
Dio?
talk.
It's me,
Yeah,
Dio.
Dio.
I also got that in
After
space.
Ozzy Osbourne got
Nice.
After Ozzy Osbourne got kicked out of Black Sabbath, he was replaced by Ronnie James Dio. For
Well,
2
keep an
albums.
eye out. It's in the war flashback.
Okay.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, I really don't know what to feel about this, guys. I'm not going in this with high hopes. What are y'all's expectations?
I don't know how to feel about it right now either, because usually we have someone with an Irish accent ranting about a movie before we even go into it. So
We got an awkward cassette tape playing.
He did
It's
have
not the
kind of a bit of
same.
a ranting
It's
sound.
a terrible movie. It's a terrible movie. You can't stand it. You want to just throw it on the grill and burn it. Is that better, John?
ooh,
Right, Sean
talk about
Connery,
your
we
Lucky
said
Charms
Irish.
now.
They're magically delicious.
Hey, Ransom,
Yes?
we said Irish, not Sean Connery.
Very close. Very
Oh.
similar. Does Sean Connery not represent
No,
all
I-
of Ireland? I think I read that in an article too.
I have a much better Sean Connery.
All right. So, Branson, what are your expectations going into it?
You know, my expectations, I don't have a lot of high hopes, but I do know that it has happened before that movies that are, either low budget or horribly bad have the opportunity to become cult classics. So I'm trying to keep an open mind that this might be one of those, that
Mhm.
it's not something that would necessarily do well in the box office, but it has such a following that people like it for different reasons. So I'm willing to give it
Mhm.
the chance to be that.
Right. Okay. Cool. John, I know you're missing an angry Irishman, but what are your expectations?
So I have an appreciation for Grindhouse movies, and I mean more than just the 2 movies that came out about 8 years ago by Quentin Tarantino and the other guy, can't remember his name all of a sudden.
Right.
But I have Hobo with a Shotgun on Blu-ray. I have I've seen my fair share of Grindhouse films, so I think I have the right mindset to be able to walk into it and enjoy it.
Okay. All right. I respect that. Squid, how
Oh,
about
well,
you?
I mean, I think any film that gets dragged across a bathroom and includes lyrics from Black Sabbath is going to be great. It's nowhere to go but up.
All right. That's true. Nowhere else to go, isn't there? All right. So, well,
We started from the toilet and got here.
now we're here.
Speaking of, do you guys have a bathroom? Because it's been a while.
Yeah, around the
Okay,
corner
okay,
to the left, and then to do that, we'll meet you in the theater. So let's head to the
All
theater.
right.
Wait, Dallas, you didn't say your expectations.
Oh, my expectation is this is going to be a train wreck.
Dear listeners, this is your opportunity to escape. Our crew has just entered into the media projection chamber. What horrors and madness that they consume are unknown. Their mental state upon their return is unknown. You have been warned.
That was a film
What
of sorts. It looked like it got ran through the toilet.
what the crap did I just see?
It didn't
Exactly.
Look, it looked
That
like
was
it
what was
didn't
on the screen.
leave the toilet.
All right. Oh my gosh. For those who are curious as to what we're all shocked about, let me read the description of this from IMDb. After losing his parents, a priest travels to China where he inherits a mysterious ability that allows him to turn into a dinosaur. First horrified by this new power, a hooker convinces him to use it to fight crime and ninjas.
I think that's what I watched.
That's what we viewed. That is what we viewed, ma'am.
That is possibly the best possible way you could summarize that movie and make it still sound interesting.
Whoever wrote that IMDb needs to get paid at least $5. That's probably 30% of their budget. Writing that promo right there.
Yeah.
So there is a second side to Kevin's.
Oh yeah.
Should
well,
I?
Yeah, go ahead and punch it. Let's hear what Kevin has to say.
Okay, well, if you are listening to this side of the cassette, I am trusting that you have already watched the movie. For what reason, I don't even care. You know what? Fine.
Birdie.
Velocipastor, it is not rated because it never put itself through MPAA to retrieve a rating. But I trust that right here at the Bottom Shelf Podcast that we are giving it an R rating. It is in the beginning of the movie said it was rated X, directed by some sort, not directed, informed by some Christians. Who knows? I don't even care. If you want to know what's inside the film for your own personal reasons,
so thrilled about this film.
I think this should be enough to let you know not to watch it. It has the main character, or one of the main characters is a hooker. It includes sexual content, some sexual talk, and humor. There's no nudity, just a very awkward 4-minute kissing scene of people in underwears. Yeah.
Oh, that was awkward.
The language, it has 12 F words, 5 times
ninjas.
use the Lord's name in vain, 2 derogatory words towards a woman, 2 scatological terms, and a word it used towards a man. It uses the word hell out of context, so yeah, I guess that's yeah. For the violence, Lord help me. I'm saying this. The violence is played for cheap laughs. I'm just going to have to say that. It's played for cheap laughs. Don't take anything so hard or serious, but the blood is completely fake. It's not even like a good fake blood. It's bad fake blood. And the gory scenes with someone exploding out has mannequin heads and limbs. That's supposed to be gore. Yeah. The mannequin heads and mannequin limbs is the gore. It's played for cheap laughs, but it's not even funny. Anyways, that's the reason why. So I'm going to, find this taco machine I see out there and bring it back.
Please hurry.
Why does it sound like a ransom video?
He sounds nice. I hope he's not lost out there for a while.
Prepare to be disappointed.
You might meet him.
I usually am.
You might meet him here in a couple weeks. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. That was I would agree with his it's R-rated probably.
I feel like there was more language in it than that.
I do too.
I think he just stopped counting after a certain
It's
point.
I think the movie just wasn't long enough to have more. It's a short film.
It's a short film.
It's not long. Yeah. It's an hour and 10
That
minutes.
was the longest hour and 10 minutes of my life. And I will never get that back.
You've never watched Attack of the Clones.
All right. So, spoiler-free discussion first. Short film, very short. I feel like We're Back Dinosaurs was about the same length and more entertaining.
I never seen that movie, so I couldn't agree to that. Or
I haven't either, but I was thoroughly entertained through that entire process.
All right. So, spoiler-free thoughts. Open floor. What are you guys' thoughts?
You know, when I was in the 6th grade, I had a lot of friends who really thought.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yours thought?
who really thought that saying a lot of cuss words and talking about a lot of taboo topics made them sound more grown up than they actually were. I feel like this movie was made by them at that age. It was like, how many different ways can we just really be over the top with everything? And it just, I don't know. I'm still shocked. I still can't really.
Like, there's a lot of dead space in this. Like, for the listener, if you've listened this far, you're like, there's a lot of dead space in this. Like, we're all in shock of what we just watched, and we're trying to find a way to describe it appropriately.
I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm in shock, to be perfectly honest. Like I said, I've seen some grindhouse cinema before. It's you have to be familiar with exploitation movies.
Yeah, I mean,
here's my thing with this movie. It's lower than low budget. Like, grindhouse cinema is typically low budget to begin with, and this is
their budget. I forgot to mention, it was in the article, was under $40,000.
Yeah, and it shows.
wow. Yeah.
You know, the priest costumes, I recognize them from Spirit Halloween.
Can we talk? I don't want to get into a spoiler.
A lot of the injuries, quote injuries, I've recognized from Spirit Halloween. Like, the special effects were just from Spirit Halloween. It's just like,
yeah,
it's like they hit up Spirit Halloween on November 2nd when they're trying to get rid of their stock. And they're like, awesome, we can make a movie. What do we got? We got a really crappy dinosaur outfit and some priest outfits and a whole bunch of ninja outfits. Cool.
But their explosions, though, best I've seen in any movie.
Are you talking about the car explosion at the beginning?
Yeah.
Wow.
We're getting spoilers.
It's
but I think the movie itself was far too self-aware for me.
It was super self-aware, like more than any like Monty Python I've even seen.
Because I if you really want to see a grindhouse movie done right, watch Hobo with a Shotgun. That movie is that's fantastic. This one, to me, it sounded like a 7-year-old that learned a new joke they think is fantastic, and they keep telling it to you.
Yes,
and it's funny at first, but then they keep telling it to you, and they keep telling it to you, and they keep telling it to you, and by the end of the movie, it's just like, okay, it's time to take your night pills, and you want to hand them a bottle of Benadryl.
I like your description better, John. I'm going to steal yours. That says better than what I was trying to say earlier.
I don't know that I like your description of parenting, but
for everybody out there, I am not a parent, nor will I ever be, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, because we totally.
What I can say is, what I can say is, I think I would have enjoyed this movie a lot more if it was only 45 minutes long. I think it overstayed its welcome, and after, by the time I hit the end, I was just fatigued.
I'll give you that. It does wear on you.
And I had mentioned this in our conversation in the theater, but and this is just, my own personal perspective on this, but it really it hit my personal limit of tolerance for sacrilege.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, okay, we get the point. Let's move on from this a little bit. So, there's some things they do, you can tell they're trying to shock you into laughs. Which I understand. I don't take it seriously, but after a while, like I said, it's like that 7-year-old with the brand new joke, and it's just like, okay,
right,
sure.
I give you that. All right, so I put this. I am very familiar with this style of low budget horror film type of stuff. Working in Hollywood Video, I saw more stuff than I probably should have. Like, there was a company called Brain Damage Productions, and I watched a couple of their films when I worked for Hollywood Video years ago, and it was all that over the top gore type of stuff. There was one movie, it wasn't Brain Damage. I don't know what company they did what company was it? I don't know. There was a movie called Ankle Biters.
Ankle Biters.
And it was it was about vampires who were little people.
Where is Kevin?
For those listening,
no. Oh no.
Literally, it was about little people.
In
vampires.
Ireland, we call them the wee folk. So,
like, but I think, John, you hit it on the head. It was so self-aware. Like, it was like they're trying to, like, these are kids who got a joke, and they also watched Deadpool, and they said, let's make a movie.
Yes. Gosh, you guys are having all
Like,
the good characterizations right now.
Honestly, we've been doing this for a minute. But honestly, it wouldn't have been it's so blatantly self-aware that it would not have been out of place if someone would have looked into the camera and said, "Get it? Huh? Do you see what you did there?"
Squid, do you have any last bit of...
see, I found that charming. I loved the self-aware bits.
Right. I liked some of them.
It
was towards the end.
there were a few. I think for me, the dialogue in this film may have been my favorite part. I don't know that I could perfectly write a script as much that just had, it's what parents do.
Parents die. That's what they do.
There were just some points where I laughed out loud. Watch, Abby, you heard me. I laughed out loud several times.
Absolutely. I mean, there were parts where I laughed out loud. So.
I'll give you that. Like, there were parts that were legitimately funny, but then it was too much. It was the continual knock-knock joke.
I just like it. It was, maybe I just really like that.
It was like knock-knock
I like when
orange.
They push it too far.
The knock-knock orange joke. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're like, aren't you glad I didn't say orange? It's like, no, now I'm going to punch you in the face.
Right.
You know, it's not a spoiler just to say the laughing scene. That is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And it's what, 4 minutes long?
Yeah.
Like, it's a long scene. Maybe.
Maybe it was just a carryover from our last D&D session, but as soon
I feel like I had a pretty good understanding from reading the article, and this almost felt like my second watch.
No, what I'm saying is
still funny.
When I hit that scene, I was at the point where I wanted to start cutting. So,
awkward.
Oof. Oh no!
Don't cut kids.
Well, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. We should talk about that later. But the movie first.
All right. Well, let's get into the spoiler section because I feel like we have a lot to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, the spoiler section.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are in our spoiler section officially, where we're just gonna lay it out. We can't dance around this any longer. We want to talk about this film, and we're just gonna march through this. We don't have Kevin to be our guide, so Lord knows how this is gonna go. Kevin, we miss you out there in space, Mr. Astronaut Man.
I don't miss being in space. It's good to be here.
I'm glad you're on solid ground. Let's get into the spoiler section. Let's talk about, because in our spoiler-free section, I'm going to say this. Talking about the scenes with you guys has been funnier than watching the film.
I agree.
But there were moments that were funny. The scene that I laughed at more than I should have was at the beginning of the movie when he's out there. He's awkwardly waving at his parents. They're awkwardly waving at him. I want to do a TikTok of, I look at him, he looks at me. Like, that's what I want to do with that scene. And then all of a sudden, there's the explosion. You look at the parents, and it says, VFX, car on fire. There's no parents.
I unironically think that might be one of my favorite films in one of the favorite scenes I've ever seen in a film in my entire life. Because it was just hilarious the first time I saw it, and just as funny the second time. Like,
I've gotten used to watching director's cuts that have unfinished scenes in it. And being able to see, okay, yeah, that's unfinished. The green screen's not good. That happened with Celeste. We were watching Live Free or Die Hard a few weeks ago, and there's a scene where Bruce Willis is driving with the dude, and I'm like, what is wrong with this scene? Like, what's wrong with the graphics? I realized it was an extra scene they never finished the graphics for, so it was awkward green screening. This was amazing to me. Like, I was like, this is when I knew this was not supposed to be serious. This is purely a satire of all things ever.
It had a very Monty Python vibe. Like, I half expected them to come back and say, we apologize for the lack of visual effects. The people responsible have been sacked.
Oh my God. Does that mean that I'm Francisco?
What?
Are you?
Depends
I
on your
thought you were
rating by the end
John.
of this conversation.
You guys
Depends
understand
on-
what I mean by that, right?
Yeah. So you feel like this is not a movie, but let's get to the end of this rating of let's get to the end of this podcast and rate it before you decide if you're
Okay.
Francisco. We should do that. If there's ever a film, we're making this decision right now. If there's ever a film that we're all like, this is not a real movie, it officially wins the Francisco award.
I mean, I'd argue that this isn't a movie.
What is it?
And it is also one of my favorite movies at the same time.
Okay, being as we're playing this a little bit loosey goosey without Kevin, and we're gonna talk about things that we laughed way too hard and way too long at. I'm gonna talk about the old priest's war flashback when, for whatever reason, his girlfriend shows up in the middle of combat, and as she's running to him, she basically explodes like a giant red water balloon all over him.
And the guys are like, I don't think she's gonna make it, guys.
I think she's too far gone. We can't help her now.
Why was she
I'm
even
not gonna-
here?
In Vietnam.
I don't. Do any of you guys watch movies with subtitles?
Often, yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So in this movie, the buddy in the war flashback is just War Buddy Ollie. And then the other guy is Small Soldier because he's shorter than all of them. And I found that almost as funny. And like that's how he's credited in the credits. Like that was hilarious
Okay,
to
Small
me.
soldier.
Dallas, I know I've tossed my Spanish at you before and you understood it. How good is your Spanish?
Not the greatest. Muy poquito.
Because did you understand anything that was being said during the seance scene?
No, I was too in shock to try to understand what was being said.
Because he was
I'm
speaking
assuming you did.
Spanish.
Oh
It
Lord.
was hilarious.
I caught bits and pieces because my Spanish is very broken as
Right.
well. But I mean, he was saying dirty something over and
Oh,
over
Lord.
again.
I think the other languages in the film were one of my favorite parts. And I read a whole article about this. I had a lot of time when I was floating in space. Because I specifically wanted to know, and it was the first scene that they included the like drug guy. I don't remember what his name was, but I was like, I want to know what languages they're all speaking. And he's speaking Cantonese. But there is, they included ninjas in the film, which are traditionally Japanese. There's no Japanese in this movie. There's some Korean, there's some Cantonese, and there's like a little bit of Mandarin, not a lot. And I just think it's hilarious because the film knows that it's playing into stereotypes, but it never plays the stereotype, which I think is what I like about the movie. And they do this with the Christianity thing too. Like they riff on stereotypes that people have of Christianity without actually riffing on Christianity. So like when you mentioned the sacrilege thing, I was like, I don't agree. I don't think they really did because they.
Oh, I get it. I get it. I'll put it like this. There were some times where I think they took the joke too far. If you allow me to retract my initial comment, and
I will allow.
Like
I am benevolent.
I was a bit amused when it showed them in their priest costumes, because I have to call them costumes because they came from Spirit Halloween.
Yeah.
No priest outfit or vestments has a neck tie in the back like they
right.
But when they were in their priest costumes coming out of the church, and then you look up at the church and it's a Methodist church.
The Church of God in Christ was the other
Yeah.
church. Like it was two different churches they
Church
used for it.
Yeah, there was a Church of Christ. Yeah.
There were two different churches.
Well, there's a point too where he even like, I think the part that like hit home for me when I was like, I appreciate what this film is doing in this scene specifically is when Father Stewart tries to like confront Doug, and Doug's like, I know the verses. Leviticus 24:24, not a verse. That's not, it doesn't exist. And then he's like, Matthew 32:6 also doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Not real. Where it's just like, there are so many people that you come into contact with. They're just like, I'm going to throw out this verse that means what I want it to mean in this moment.
Right.
And they're just like, let me just put this out there. And they did a lot of comments like that about a lot of different things that I just appreciated.
There was a couple of moments where the movie played its jokes a little bit more intelligent than it should have been allowed in this movie.
Yeah.
Somehow they made smart jokes sometimes, and I don't know how, but I liked it.
Squid, the more you explain your point of view, the more I'm starting to understand where you're coming from.
I have a lot of points like this. Like they consistently mock stereotypes and tropes. Like hypocrisy in the church is something they talk about a lot, because he's always like, I need to do what's right, and I'm gonna go kill bad guys. And you're like, well, I don't know how you got from A to B. I see that you're there. But it's also, they did one comment, and I didn't write it down, which is a shame. But they just push things to caricature so often, where it's like, we need evil to fight evil sometimes when they go to the seance. And it's just like, sometimes you have people that are like, well, it's okay when I do it because I'm a Christian, or it's okay when I do it because I learned about it once. It's like, but it's not okay when other people do it. I like that. I thought that self-aware part came through really well.
I did have a ha-ha moment when he's suiting up to go have his big final battle, and he puts on like the Ghost Rider leather jacket. And I'm like, okay, so now we've officially gotten rid of the priest outfit, and we're going to be the traditional good bad guy. Okay.
Yes.
And the fact that suddenly he has Jedi powers and he summons a sword to himself.
Yes. So when he summoned the sword, I could be wrong because I didn't actually watch the show as a child, but it reminded me of He-Man. Because he like summoned the sword and then he raised it above his head and he's like, this is my ancestry too.
Slight correction, that was actually
and I was just like, by the power of Grayskull.
Yeah,
Oh, maybe it was
Thundercats is where he could call
whatever
the sword
it
to
was.
his hand.
I will say that whole end sequence, if you've ever watched any really crappy 1970s kung fu movies, like that would be played in the old grindhouse theaters, that whole thing with the summoning of the sword and the really poorly synced dubs, and that's all throwback to 1970s.
Well, the whole film was supposed to be
grindhouse.
a throwback to 70s films,
right?
Even like the
very specifically that end sequence though was
right.
to the 1970s kung fu grindhouse.
But even like, especially in those films too, like the making of Eastern culture, the bad guys, it's Yellow Peril. Like that's what it was in the entire film. Even just the not having the same language, not having the language of the person that's speaking the language, having him be like, go where God won't follow, China. Like, we want you to go to a place where God isn't, and it's those scary Easterners. Like that was like, the film was just mocking 70s films, really, of just being like, we want something that is mystical and outside of us and away from spirituality.
You know, you characterizing the film that way, I think it actually makes a little more sense to me now, because I didn't pick up on the, oh yeah, we're making fun, like going back to the whole Christianity thing. I kept watching this and thinking, these people have no clue what Christians actually believe. Like at one point he made a comment about, I can't be a dinosaur because dinosaurs aren't real. I'm like, what Christian actually believes that dinosaurs aren't real?
I've met a couple.
Yeah, exactly. It's those people that are like,
well,
it's
not to say those people, but
it's the extreme homeschoolers that we don't like to talk about.
Well, no.
Exactly.
Yeah, like Washington State are here going to talk about a Washington State band real quick. Alice in Chains. Anybody familiar with them?
Mm-hmm.
The reunion.
I also had them in space.
The group reunited a few years back with a new lead singer since Lane Staley died. Their second album since they came out was literally called, to mock people of that mindset, it was called "The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here."
Wow. Okay. See, this is the first I've ever heard that that's even a thing.
Oh yeah. That's the thing. There's some people who believe that the devil put dinosaur bones out there to make people lose faith.
People.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like the, not to go too far into like young Earth, new Earth, et cetera, but it's a lot of those debates where it's like, well, dinosaurs can't be real because they weren't around a few thousand years ago, so surely not. Like it's that kind of thing, which I think this film's aware of. So they're like, We're just going to take all these stereotypes about a bunch of things, not just Christianity, and we're just going to lay them out here, super self-aware that that's what we're doing.
You know, that
and we're going
that
to make fun of
reminds
them.
me of, did any of you see Borat, the first one?
No.
I
did
haven't.
not.
Don't bother. First
I
of
didn't
all,
get that one on YouTube.
I have these things called standards.
yeah.
So
Okay,
Why are you
I
on the
don't,
show?
but
I saw the trailer, and it was one of those situations where the truly, truly funny parts of the movie were in the trailer. And so when I went to see the movie,
Mhm.
the only parts I laughed were when I saw the scenes that were already in the trailer. But it has that kind of
I can't-
vibe of, let's see how many people we can offend. So like he hits every possible group that he can, and like, how many ways can I offend people? How can I offend conservatives? How can I offend liberals? How can I offend Christians? How can I offend Muslims? How can I offend anyone of any group whatsoever? I think the only people group that he didn't attempt to offend in that movie were like people that were into goth stuff. And I had to think really hard to think of
it's
that.
hard to
Yeah.
offend them.
But it the to hear you describe the movie, it reminds me of that, of let's just make fun of as many things as possible. And it
yeah, Sasha,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's still not my style of humor. But I can understand a little bit better what it was trying to do and maybe appreciate it more.
And I'd argue they did it better than Borat did.
Probably.
Because they don't necessarily get in your face about it. They're like, if you stop for long enough to be like, that's what they just said there. Oh, they were quoting a verse that's not even real.
Right.
They weren't even using real, terminology, quote unquote, to do it. Yes.
Yeah, it's a trend.
Yep.
like
Um,
we're dancing around this all day, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I've enjoyed talking about it more than watching it.
Yes.
And I'll tell you another film that I feel like people enjoyed talking about more than watching. I may offend some people. Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
That is a
Never seen it.
terrible, stupid film, but people enjoy talking about it.
you shut your mouth, sir.
I shall not.
No, I'm going to have to agree with you. I love quoting the movie. Quoting the movie makes me laugh every time, but I have tried to go back and watch it, and I can't finish it. I'm like, why did I think this was funny? But now, if you get someone to quote the
Because
movie,
it is.
but if you get someone to quote the movie, I laugh every time. The memory of the movie is better than the actual movie, in my opinion.
And see, that's why I would argue that this isn't really a movie. Like it's really not.
It's one big satire, really, all the way through.
It's just a big statement. Like, because I love film. I love good film. I love good cinematic works. If I'm comparing it on those standards, yeah, I'd never watch it. Like it would never make the list. But I enjoyed it just as much as the second time watching it as I did the first, because it was just, I could just sit and laugh at it, because it's not a movie. I don't have to hold it to the same movie standards. It was just a big joke, an hour-long joke, and I've done less productive things for an hour of time. So,
all right. So we've talked around it, and we've done all this stuff. Let's wrap up this portion with just give me two things you liked and two things you didn't like about the film. Just so I feel like we've been somewhat productive. Wow, we really do need Kevin for structure. I didn't realize that until just now.
We miss you, Kevin.
Branson, two things that you liked, two things you didn't like.
Okay, two things that I liked. Okay, let me start with two things I didn't like, and then maybe by the time I'm finished, I can think of two things that I actually liked. Okay.
Do you want me to go first, Branson? And then you can
Yes,
figure
that
both
would
of
be
them out?
great. Thank you, John. That would be great.
Okay. Two things I liked. One, just to reiterate it, the old priest's girlfriend blowing up in Vietnam. That I could watch that scene on repeat for probably the entire duration of this movie and just laugh the whole time, just because of the sheer ridiculousness of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like how big of it. It's almost like a send up of. It's not trying to be a grindhouse movie. It's trying to be a send up of a grindhouse movie, if that makes sense. And so I do like how meta it is about just grindhouse in general, and how spot on they are about grindhouse movies. What I didn't like was how self-aware it was. I felt like the movie was going waka 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 the whole entire time. And
Until Fozzie steps on a landmine.
Yeah, and that would have been hilarious. I would have laughed at it. It looks like another one of them Viet Cong trip mines again. And something else I didn't like, and I appreciate how much illumination Squid brought to the party on this aspect, and I don't dislike it as much as I did going into this conversation, but just the raw rubbing that they give Christianity in general. Because even if they may have had just the jokingest intentions, a lot of people will perceive that as this is just how Christians are. And there's gonna be people out there who already have an opinion about Christianity that are gonna be like, yeah, Yeah,
it's red meat for those individuals for sure.
So that and that's just my thought. And like I said, that's just a point of view. So, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Sweet. Ranson?
Yes, okay, I'm there. Thank you, John, for giving me a second to collect myself a little bit. To echo what John said after Squid explaining that the point is to make fun of as many stereotypes as possible, I can kind of appreciate it more. I liked the I guess the cleaner, funnier moments, like when he finds the girl shot through the heart with the arrow, and he's like, "What? You want me to take this?
Are you hurt?
Do you want me to take this?" And she's saying in Chinese, "No, I want you to destroy it." He's like, "Okay, I'll take it and keep it forever." "No, I want you to destroy it." So that part made me laugh out loud. So those cleaner moments where it's like, and then like we mentioned earlier, we're supposed to know that there's an exploding car there, and all it has is text that says VFX burning car. That those Monty Python-y type of humorous moments, I appreciated. Things I didn't like, to echo what John said, I didn't pick up on we're making fun of a stereotype of Christians. I picked up on, no, this is how Christians really are. And I think maybe that colored my view of the whole movie, because I didn't pick up on that as a stereotype. I picked up on they were lumping all of Christianity into that category. And that's why I had the process of they have no concept of what Christians actually believe. So that part I didn't like. And, I don't know. Like I said, it's not my style of humor. Throwing in F-bombs just for the sake of F-bombs, that's me personally. I don't find that funny. Guys inventing new ways to curse just to, how many ways can I get bleeped out in a sentence? That I don't find that's not the kind of humor that I appreciate. And that was...
You would not have liked me in high school, bro.
Actually, I
wouldn't like me on a
had
Friday.
Friends who were like that. I'm sure Dallas and I could both think of people from high school that were like that. That was their brand of humor, and we hung out with them and played with sharp objects around them. But
stop stabbing people in necks, I tell you.
But so I can appreciate the time that it was goofy funny, and I can appreciate the stereotypes that it was trying to make fun of, but the over the top ribbing and the over the top language was kind of putting off for me.
Yeah. All right, Squid.
All right. I probably should have been thinking about this.
Only 2 things that you like. Only 2.
All right.
Top 2 things. I know that there's a list.
There is. There's so many that I could come up with.
The answer cannot be the movie. You can't say that, Squid.
Well, I already said I probably wouldn't call it a movie.
Okay.
So
well, there you go.
This entire adaptation of a satirical work. No, I would agree that some of those goofy, funny parts were some of my favorites that just had me laughing out loud. The visual effect of the car. Again, it's just one of the funniest things I've ever seen. The first time I saw it, I was rolling. I was rolling. That, like, when he goes to China and then the text just goes China and then he goes China. I think that was hilarious. She says, I'm fine. And then she's fine shows up on the page. Like, that's like those had me laughing because I forgot they happened and then they happened. And I went, oh yeah, they did put that in a movie, didn't they? There they are. There were some other things I enjoyed too, but mostly I just laughed at the movie. I think the things that I didn't like was continuity errors throughout the entire film. I had a lot of questions about how things worked. Mainly the hooker's apartment, because sometimes she had a whole apartment, sometimes she only had a bedroom. It was very confusing. But the actual thing I think that I disliked, which is kind of the opposite of what you and John both said, is that watching this film and the ways they made fun of Christianity was too much of a reminder of people I know. That I think some of their stereotypes hit nails on heads that I just went, I wish I couldn't say that I knew people that believed that. But I do.
I can see that. I can understand.
Yes. And I was like, I wish I could just copy this part of a movie and send it to someone and be like, they think that this is funny because they're pushing a stereotype, but this is what you believe. Like, we should talk about this. Let's sit down. Let's have a discussion. But those are the parts that I find in those moments rub me the wrong way, not because people are making fun of it, but because they can make fun of that because it's real.
Right.
And it happens. Like, that's, yeah.
I get that.
What about you, Dallas? What are your 2 and 2?
All right. So 2 things I enjoyed. I enjoyed I enjoyed a lot of the comedy that was there, dealing with just the goofiness, the VFX, the random stuff that took place. Because again, I've watched these low budget films before. I don't hate low budget films. I make them sometimes, but
You're still better at it than they are.
like even just I legitimately like shook my head and chuckled when it popped up that the one ninja was the guy's brother. And they did the flashback scene of him being there the entire freaking time.
Fun fact, the characters on his headband spell brother.
Oh gosh.
Wow.
So like those
fun piece of trivia.
Those goofy, ridiculous moments, because like it was just trope after trope of these bad Chinese movies, these bad exploitation films, like all of it. Like it was just trope after trope of how do I put this? When people talk about comic books and they complain about stories, like, well, why does this happen? Because comics, like why does a hero suddenly have this thing? Because anime. I mean, it just is. And so it's like he just suddenly has the ability to do these type of things. So I enjoyed those. That's one of my things I like, just the goofiness of it and the fact that it did hit all the tropes. Things I disliked about it. I disliked how cheap the costuming was. Like it really was. Hey, let's go to Spirit Halloween on November 1st, and just like we joked around earlier before recording that like I did a martial arts style fight scene with teenagers, and I raided a prop closet for less money than what it took to go to Spirit Halloween, and I did a better thing, and it involved a ninja, it involved a dude with Nerf guns, and a cyborg made out of cardboard.
Robo Ninja.
And and I just like, I know you guys are being goofy, but when you have the humpback of Notre Dame as a dinosaur fighting ninjas, I was like, come on, guys. Can we try a little bit harder?
What I thought was great is if you go back and watch the 2010 trailer for the short Grindhouse film trailer. It's the same costume.
Oh, Lord.
Which and the scene, the montage scene when he's going around and like decides he's going to fight crime. One of those is actually in the trailer too.
Oh yeah,
which I thought was really appreciated.
What I can say though, to call back to a previous episode of ours, in watching him in his mid transformation when his hands were transformed in just his hands, we found out where the Cyclo prop hands went after Battlefield Earth.
It's true. We found the cyclone hands. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I get cheap. I get doing it funny, but they took it too far. And just these uber self-awareness. They just ran the joke too long. I think they could have killed the movie earlier and it would have been funnier. And we could have moved on with our lives. But they did not. And I think
alas.
So all right, well, let's give our final rating. So, John, can you explain our rating system?
Yes, Dallas. Here on the Bottom Shelf podcast, we have a rating system of 4 separate ratings. As we watch movies that are declared critically as being terrible, our first rating is top shelf, where we can't understand why this is considered a terrible movie at all. Everybody should watch it. Everybody would enjoy it. The middle shelf is, I can kind of see how other people wouldn't enjoy this. I personally did enjoy it. I know a few other people who would, but there probably are some people I know who wouldn't. Bottom shelf is, yeah, this is a bad movie. I probably didn't enjoy it, or I did, but not enough to really merit watching it again. And there are very few people I would probably show this movie to. And then there's the dumpster fire, which is, nobody should ever consume this heap of garbage ever. Let's destroy it from all existence.
All right, so that's our rating system. I want to start with our special guest, Squid. Madam, tell us your rating.
Boy, would I love to give it a top shelf. But I couldn't morally suggest it to everyone I know. So I think it decisively has to sit on the middle shelf for me.
All right, middle shelf. Branson, you're the newbie. So what's your rating?
With respect, I gotta put it in the dumpster fire.
Wow.
Because I don't think I'm ever gonna go back and watch this movie again. Like, I've seen it. I would bump it up to bottom shelf if someone could like give a disclaimer or warning of, hey, when you go to watch this, understand this is what's happening, so you could see it once then move on. But I can't think of anyone I'd want to show it to.
Right. Now I want to make sure we're clear, Branson. Dumpster fire means it should never be seen ever again. Period. Even with disclaimers.
Okay, then I guess technically it would be bottom shelf then. But low on the
get
bottom
that movie
shelf.
out of the dumpster.
Like so low it's forgotten about bottom shelf.
I will dive in the dumpster after it.
Squid's just burning. It burns so good. All right, John, your thoughts, sir.
Squid,
I'm prepared to jump in a dumpster.
Squid, you've ruined this for me. I was so excited going into this review that I was finally going to be able to throw something into a dumpster. And then your perspective has swayed me just enough that with a bit of preempting and just some explanation, there are some people I know of who would be like, yeah, this movie was not for me. There was bits of it that I did find to be entertaining. I personally will probably never watch this movie again. And I'm not mad that I watched it, but in the same sense, I think I probably would have rather played my PlayStation during that time.
You would have rather played an online MOBA. Like,
I've never played a MOBA, so
I know.
I right now I'm actually in the middle of Sackboy's Big Adventure, so but that's neither here nor there. So with much reluctance, I'm going to put it on the bottom shelf. The bottom of the bottom shelf.
All right. So we have a middle shelf and two bottom shelves. So we know Kevin probably put this in the dumpster fire, but his vote doesn't count because he's not here.
Actually, I do have his letterboxed review.
Oh my goodness, he did a letterbox.
Oh goodness,
he did.
And he's not on the podcast right now, so his vote still doesn't count. But what does he say?
Squid, I know you have a solid.
I'll cover my ears.
No. I know you have a solid Irish accent. I would like you to read this for me, please.
Oh, all right. Well, you just send that over.
I'll send it to you.
I want to read it now.
It's in the Riverside chat. The link.
All right. Let me pull this up. Oh boy, I can already tell this is going to be a good one.
You only have to.
I hope.
You only have to read to the film's content. So.
Yeah. All right. I hope, as long as I live, I never have to talk about this film. Mostly unfunny, unamusing, and a waste of time I've spent watching ugly rubbish. I felt dirty and nasty watching this movie. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy fun bad movies, but it has to be made with effort put into it. This whole film tries so hard to not wink at us and remind us they don't care about what they're filming, so I don't care to say anything more about it.
Yeah, he put it in a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't actually say that, so we
but
can't.
He wasn't.
we can't
He
read
wasn't
into
here
it.
to hear my strong arguments about why it was decent.
He wasn't here. He didn't actually say that. We can't imply his intent, but I felt that he had a right to have his voice heard on his own podcast. So,
And I hope he knows that my voice is what now stands in place of his.
it's as close as we can get, Callum.
I hope he knows that my shoddy Irish accent is now the voice of him.
Oh my gosh.
All right, Dallas.
All right. So for me, I had my answer firm after watching the film, and it has not changed since watching the film. I need you guys to understand that. Out of character, I've talked about this film quite a bit today, and this film belongs solidly on the bottom shelf.
Yep, I agree.
We have a contested bottom shelf. Squid has saved this movie from a dumpster fire.
Yeah, it's
I
not.
saved it from the fire.
It's not a good film. There are people who will enjoy this film. There are stuff that I will laugh about to forever, because their stuff is like, what is happening here? I will always laugh. I'm one to make a film now and do just VFX stuff everywhere and just have little signs, VFX. Just because I think it was funny. I do not want to watch this film ever again. But I will laugh about it, just like Napoleon Dynamite. I'll laugh about your tots, but I don't watch it.
I don't
See,
understand.
I've never watched Napoleon. I don't tend to like stupid humor movies, but for some reason,
Wait,
this
what?
one gets me.
What?
I don't know. This one gets me. I tend not to, but this one got me.
All right.
I don't know.
There we go.
It's got to be so over the top stupid. Because, like, again, I would never argue that this is a good film. I would barely argue that this is a film. Like, if not for the fact that it is on film, which we know because it has been baked and rubbed around a bathroom, like, I wouldn't argue it.
Squid.
All right, real talk. Out of our conversation, out of our scene here, watching this,
Hold on,
I
two
thought
people at once are talking at me.
I thought there was my TV was damaged during several shots because there was a dot on some of the celluloid that was just constant. I was like, "What is this dot on my TV?" Like, I had to go put my finger on the TV and turn off and change the channel to make sure that dot wasn't my TV.
Do you know what it reminds me of? Have you ever watched Fight Club?
Yes.
You know, where he's like, I add in these things sometimes, and you can tell by the spots on the film. That's what it makes me think of.
All right. So after that wonderful conversation, it's time for us to go on to our next section of Weak Connections.
This is a weak connection.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the Weak Connection segment of our show where we are not shamelessly, with permission, robbing from Welcome to Level 7 podcast, Ben Avery, and we're making a weak connection, some spiritual application from these films, from this film, that is actually biblical, unlike most of this film. So,
I would argue there was nothing biblical in this film.
yeah, absolutely.
Even the Bible verses weren't biblical.
Woo.
So,
Bro, you ain't wrong. So we can 100% guarantee you this will be more encouraging than the father who was trying to encourage the Velocipastor pastor. So, Branson, you got anything?
Come back to me.
All right, let me just kick it off, and we'll get it, and then we'll do a round table. My encouragement is simply this: I desperately hated the advice that the pastor gave, the senior father gave to the Velocipastor, because it's a stereotypical answer. It's like, well, the Lord has a plan for this, and that's terrible advice, especially when you follow it with, well, parents die, that's what they do. Like, that's really not comforting to anybody. Here's the deal, and this is what I want to encourage you guys with. Yes, Lord has a plan. God does have a plan for things. And yes, people die. That's what they do. But why? It's because we live in a fallen world. Like, God does not intend for evil things to happen. God doesn't intend for bad things to take place to you. We live in a fallen world, and that's why these bad things happen. But the encouragement on the back end is the scriptures does say that God works all things to the good of those who trust in him, who have faith in him. it's not that being a Christian means that life is going to be good. It's going to be, sunshine and rainbows and farting unicorns. It's not any of that.
It's not?
No, I wish. But it does mean that we have hope, that as we lean into the Lord, as we trust him, that we're going to make it. We're going to get through the day. And that happens through what? Sometimes it's through divine intervention, legitimately. Sometimes it's through community. I know for me, in my darkest time was when I was a teenager and I was 15 years old and my family was left homeless in Shreveport. And life sucked. Like, it was terrible. And I was I was a new Christian. Like, I'd just gotten saved like a couple months beforehand. And it was a terrible time for me. But I really believe that through that, the Lord guided me, my family, and got us connected to a solid church community that was there to support me and encourage me. There were men in that church who surrounded me and stepped in as a father figure that I didn't have and showed me how to respect people and how to walk things out. He gave me friendships that, such as Branson. Branson was there for me during those times when I first got saved, and I first got there, and I was an angry dude, and Branson was a good friend. And so that's why I'm saying that life sucks sometimes, yes, and it's because we live in a fallen world. But if we trust the Lord, we lean into him, he'll guide us, he'll direct us, and we can make it through. It doesn't mean that everything's gonna be okay right off the bat, which I feel like that's a problem. Most people think it's, when we say God's gonna take care of you, it's like, okay, tomorrow things are gonna be fine, like we just hit the reset button. No, it's a process of walking things out and trusting him on a regular basis. So that's my weak connection for us.
Mine is very similar.
Take it away, sis.
But different. But it's different.
Same, but different.
This is very much a theme in this film. And Carol says it, and I wrote down this quote specifically when she's talking to Doug, and she says, "You talk all the time about helping people. Some of these people are beyond help." And she lists off some of the people. And it's something that I actually talked to someone else this week about. And it was in a completely different context, aside from pimps and drug dealers. But at the same time, no one's beyond God. It doesn't matter who they are, and we're not called to judge. And we are, as Christians, we will know them by their fruit. And it does say that. So we'll be able to see the people that are reflecting God's glory. But also, we aren't called to be judge, jury, and executioner at any point in our walk.
Word.
We are called to love people around us. And, like Doug, Jesus hung out with prostitutes a lot, but Jesus wasn't a velociraptor. He was real and part of God, and he would be there to love them and to bring them into the fold. And it's a lot of people and a lot of Christians will have different ideas of who's beyond help. And it will look differently. It will be, people that commit some of those sins, like being pimps, having committed murder or anything like that. And they'll just be like, well, they don't have a place in our church. Guess what? It's not their church. It's God's. And he has a place for everyone.
Exactly.
So
preach it, girl. That's one of the things that I just want to jump on that it bothers me when I see that. And you're right. It's our job to judge. It is our job to inspect fruit,
right.
But within relationship, I think that's what bothers me is people oh, look at this. You don't know them. You're not in their lives. Right. You don't have the authority to say something like that. Now, if we're friends.
We're called to have wisdom. You don't need to put everyone in charge of your children's ministry if they're not, given talents or necessarily the place for that.
Right.
But, just because someone acts differently than you, especially I see this a lot in the disability community. If someone doesn't sit in church quietly, that doesn't mean they don't belong in church. It means maybe you should fix yourself, not them. If they're a distraction, maybe you should focus better and don't worry about what they're doing.
It's good. It's good. Sweet. Anybody else at the table?
I think I know what I was trying to say earlier. My mind just went completely blank. I apologize. But in reference to the Templar ninjas, there's a I still can't quite process that. It's Chinese ninjas who are also Templars. Okay, sure. But anyhow, there's a scene where the head master guy is talking about his evil plan. He's putting out cocaine to make everyone addicted so he can simultaneously rip away the cocaine and make them all have to go into recovery. And here are these churches standing ready to bring them in. And it's his evil plan or whatever. Complete with the maniacal laugh that lasts for 4 minutes.
I wonder if he ran Celebrate Recovery.
He probably did.
Real quick before you walk away from where you're at right now in this Branson.
Yeah.
Is anybody here familiar with Five Iron Frenzy.
Yeah.
The way you just said that, instantly in my head, my evil plan to save the world.
Ah.
Well played. Well played.
Yes. But that attitude that the master, what did they ever actually say what his name was? I can't remember.
Yeah, but it was
Okay. Head Ninja Templar guy.
forgettable.
That whole attitude of, because what I want is good, that excuses anything I do to get it that way. Like, because what I want is for people to be in church, it excuses me getting them addicted to cocaine so that I can rip it away from them and kind of force them back to church. I don't think anyone has quite that plan specifically, but I do run into people who have that attitude of, I'm a Christian, I believe the truth, so I can be as mean as I want to you when I talk to you. And, you know, I am the salt of the earth, and I'm the light of the world, and I'm preserving truth and shining light in the darkness. And if you don't like it, well, tough. And when I study Jesus, I don't see that. When I look at his teachings, I don't see that. Now, he wasn't afraid to speak the truth. And if the truth offended people, well, darn. But he always operated from a place of love. He spoke the truth because he genuinely cared about the people. And that's why one of the reasons why he and the Pharisees butted heads so much. The Pharisees wanted to puff themselves up. Jesus wanted to lift everyone up. And that was my weak connection, was that we need to, well, for multiple reasons, we need to not be like the headmaster ninja Templar guy. But specifically,
don't get people hooked
exactly,
on cocaine.
yeah. But specifically,
it's not a guarantee they'll come to church.
when we share truth, when we, share scriptures in the situations, when we tell people, even if we're telling them that they're wrong about a certain topic, we need to always operate from a place of, I care about this person. I want what's best for this person. The ends don't justify the means. Just because I'm right doesn't mean that I have an excuse to be crass, or I have an excuse to be mean, or I have an excuse to be rude. As Dallas mentioned earlier, the importance of relationship. If I'm going to tell you, hey, I think what you're doing is destructive, I need to come from a place where I love you, I care about you, I want what's best for you, and I share this truth that you may not like because of that, not I'm awesome and you're not, deal with it.
Have any of you guys read the book Food for Thought?
I'm not.
I can't remember the first name of the author, but his last name's Foucachon. He's a French pastor. Foucachon, I suppose, if you're saying it French. But I'm not French, so I will not say it that way. But he talks specifically about this, which I think about often, which one, unrelated to Food for Thought, that people in the church, not to call anyone out specifically by name, because I won't do that, but how often we'll use that kind of excuse for gossip to be like, well, I just needed to, get someone else's insight on whether or not this is something that we should talk about. And instead it just becomes like, did you see what that person did? Yeah, that wasn't biblical. Oh, and thereby you're just talking about that. But Food for Thought, great book. I'll find a link and send it to you guys. Talks about building community through meals and how that was one of the biggest impacts, like religiously, is just sitting down for a meal together and breaking bread together, and how we've kind of lost that in the modern American church of not, we all just like drive into our garages and close the door and don't talk to people, and we don't build community anymore. So like having that where you can be like, come to the table.
Yeah.
Sit down, share a meal, because that's how you make change. You don't do it by, you did something wrong. Like you get to know people.
Right.
So you can sit down and they know that you love them.
Yeah.
And then you can have those conversations, because without that relationship, that conversation only comes across one way.
Right.
Like, there's only two ways that goes. It's not great.
I mean, when you look at the scriptures, I mean, everything took place on a bed of relationship. Yes, there was open air preaching at moments and stuff like that, but I mean, where the Gospels focus on is Jesus having real life moments with people. And the same thing within the with the Book of Acts, with what takes place in there. There were real life moments of people sitting down, discussing things, walking through things, difficult things at times, and working out their stuff. And I think that's something that a lot of people have lost. I think the church has lost is, hey, let's talk. I feel like there are too. I'm a media guy. I'm a media pastor, and I help to get my pastor out there on the internet and stuff like that. But a lot of people, they're too busy trying to get themselves out to be heard, instead of being willing to hear people.
Yeah.
And when we get to the point where all we're worried about is being heard all the time, that's when we're in the wrong.
Amen.
John, you got anything, brother?
I did, but in reading it more, I felt that it applied better to a different movie that we're doing in our next episode. So
I can't even begin to guess what connection you had between both of these films.
All right. Well,
It's racking my brain.
with that being said, I think this is a good time for us to end this podcast. John, what is our next film?
our next film is going to be 1974's Dark Star, John Carpenter's very first film, which is important to me because I am a giant John Carpenter fanboy. So
nice. Very cool. All right. We're looking forward to that. Let's wrap this up. Squid, where can people find you?
In my house usually.
Okay.
And
the
I don't
address
leave
is
too often.
I was about to say I can never find you there because you won't let me have your address.
I sent you my address now. Just because you missed it in chat is not my fault. I am not easily found on the internet usually. You can listen to me over at Playing Games with Strangers, where I am every week playing a dubious level of Irish accented character. I am on Pint-Sized Art History, which is also a content warning for your listeners. It has some language and some explicit content at times. Or in my house, usually. But please don't show up unannounced. I will be scared.
All right, we'll have links for all those and Squid's address in our show notes below.
You missed one,
Just
Squid.
send me a note first.
You missed one. Supersonic Pod Comics.
Oh, yeah. That's a really cool thing, which actually has some new projects coming out on Webtoons very soon.
And February 2nd, 22, you'll be able to hear Supersonic Rewind.
Yes.
Hosted by yours truly.
Woo! I'm excited about that. All right, cool.
First episode is mostly done, so.
Nice.
Woo.
I'm hyped. Speaking of hyped and excited about Supersonic podcasts and also Playing Games with Strangers, Branson, where can people find you?
You can find me usually. Once a month I've got a segment on Com Talk where I do Bees Using Reviews. It's a review for faith-based family-friendly comics and the creators that make them. If you have a faith-based family-friendly comic that you would like for me to review, either one that you like or one that you've done yourself, you can email me at branson.boykin@gmail.com, or you can also make recommendations through all of Geek Devotion's social media, Discord, Facebook, all of that stuff.
Fantastic. John, how about you, sir?
Every time you ask me, I'm super tempted to start doing In the Club by 50 Cent. Just be like, you can find me in the club, sipping on a bottle of bub. I ain't in the... Where can't they find me? Playing Games with Strangers, Supersonic Pod Comics, Primitive Rhythm Machine on ComTalk. Got a new podcast coming up soon, which is also going to be Geek Devotions related. My band, Mezzanine, places. So many places.
Right.
And I've probably...
Also in his home.
I've probably forgotten some of them. So
right. we'll have links for most of those, and you can find me at geekdevotions.com and also all the other Geek Devotions social media platforms. But we want to encourage you guys to check out the Bottom Shelf on Facebook and Instagram. Just look for the Bottom Shelf podcast on both those platforms. Interact with us. Let us know your thoughts on this podcast. Did you like it? Do you not like it? And if you do like it, please leave a review on Apple Podcast and on Podchaser, because it helps to get the podcast out, because Google doesn't like us. So
Stupid Google.
Google may not be the only one. Tell us what you think.
Exactly. So, all right, guys. Until next time, have a great week.